Welcome back to another episode of Opinionated Podcast Off-Topic. Today we got some new guests on. Thank y'all for coming on. This is Jenny and Sergey from the Wavy Movement. You got anything? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Sergey is one of my. We were really close when we were in high school. Just we had a lot of same interests. We played WoW together. Back in the day.
You played WoW?
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, a lot as a kid. I stopped in high school. I played a little bit, but I just grew up. My family at a point in time, all 5 of them played WoW. So it's like.
I got on WoW late because I
It's good, bro.
Yeah, I never really played it, but I used to play with them two and his brother. Excuse me. 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, it was fun.
It is fun. I don't have time currently, but it's definitely.
The thing.
I do want to play it again, especially with all the stuff they have coming up.
Bro, it's a world. It sucks you in, bro, and you're like, you just realize you're like, I can't maintain this.
Yeah,
and like
it's
when
a
people
lot.
are running raids and all that stuff, I'm like, bro, like it's legit. Like it's kind of like professional gaming before it was professional gaming.
Yeah.
People running together, mics, everything.
Yeah.
30 deep in a party. I'm just like, I don't know. Like honestly, I stopped actually playing games a lot. Like I just got a PS4 like a little less than a month ago, and for years I didn't have anything because I noticed I didn't have the discipline with it, and it was hard to have that. And I feel like I'm better now in a lot of ways than I was. So now I'm like, I incorporated and seeing how is it gonna go? Because I don't know. It's to each person is different. Like for me, I just realized I can use my time. I don't have limited time. I can use my things to create certain things or live. But it's if I'm gonna enjoy and relax and be playing a video game, what does that provide? It's very small energy exchange compared to a lot of other things in life.
Yeah. Well, kind of give us a brief introduction of who both of you are, kind of where y'all from, y'all's upbringing, and then I guess kind of catch us up to where y'all are at now.
First, you wanna go first?
Yeah. So my name is Jennifer Olvera, but I usually go by Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually born and raised in Mexico, then moved to United States when I was 8 or 9, and then I moved to Georgia, and then from Georgia I moved here to Austin.
Okay.
So that's just a little bit about where I've been and how I got here.
What part of Mexico are you from?
Querétaro.
Where is that at? I'm not too familiar with.
It's its own state, but it's close to Mexico City.
Okay, so it's central.
Yeah, central of
cool.
Mexico. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Do you go back and visit over there?
Not at the moment.
No. Have you been since you've been to moved to America?
No. So for me, it's a little bit different because of my background and my status. I'm not fully a resident or a citizen.
Okay.
So it's I'm limited to where I can travel for the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's just my personal story.
What part of Georgia did you live in? Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long were you there?
So I've been there since I moved to United States. So probably about a few years. I want to say maybe 10 to 12 years.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah, and so what is the way he moves me? Tell us what did you do?
It was when I moved before moving here, I met Sergey.
Yeah.
And we started talking, had interests on each other. We're both basically on the same timeline just with what we do, talking about health, wellness, both living the vegan lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So we connected in that sense, and then we started talking. When I met him, he wasn't really into everything that I was doing because he had just started getting into health and wellness, veganism, and just learning more about that. So we started talking, and then from there we obviously had an attraction to each other, and we started talking in that sense. But before that, the business wasn't there yet, so it was more further
later on.
He started it. He initiated the company and was bringing natural herbs and just living more holistically based on what he was learning. And after that, we decided to come together, and basically I also started adding and putting my energy and my creativity into the business. And that's kind of what started to grow it more because we were both putting our own strengths into the business. We both know a little bit of everything. So it's like it worked out at the end.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool.
I think that's like the interesting thing is like the balance though. We're different. Like we do have similar like way we were raised. I was
Yeah.
raised in Ukraine. I came here. I was adopted when I was 8. So around a similar time as her, I had to learn a different language. Had to learn English.
Mhm.
Spoke Russian, and then came here. I don't even speak Russian anymore, but it's like just
You don't remember
adapting.
anything?
No, honestly, like 'cause I didn't really have a need, and I just came here. I adapted. I changed.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's like kind of been my journey. It's like adapting, but also like figuring out like who actually am I, like what actually serves me, instead of like what people around me are doing, or maybe like what they've shown me is possible. And personally, for me, I always grew up playing sports. I love sports. Like I love competing. It was always fun, and it's like I honestly I don't know if I could be sane, like as a kid, just going through everything I was going through,
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't have a chance to go outside or like to exercise or to go to the gym. But I realized I always care about movement, or like always care about health, or like, but I realized part of me never cared about like what I really ate, and I didn't realize even emotionally and spiritually like how much sensitivity I had around food, that like I would like hoard food, or like I would eat from the middle plate instead of my plate to ensure I had enough food. It's like all these things that comes with food. It's much more than just what we eat. It's really like how we think about ourselves, how we think about the food, our emotions, our connection to our past. And so like it's just interesting going through that time. Like my junior years, I got an injury, and my first injury ever. I broke my back that year, but I broke my back 3 times at the end of that year, just basically on 3 different occurrences. And it was just going up. My body was just frail. Like I was overtraining. I was trying to be strong, like trying to make up for my size, trying to do this, that I was actually making myself worse. And then after the injuries, I realized that I really wasn't healthy. Like I pushed my body, but how can I push my car if it doesn't have fuel, or it doesn't have oil change, if it doesn't have filters? So I'm pushing that, and a lot of us do that. And I realize a lot of it is emotional coping, like, and it feels good to train hard, or like it releases stress. And then part of me is like, I can't neglect myself. And so that's how I feel like it was coming back to like me taking care of myself, in the ways I should have when I was younger. And seeing that like when I grew up in America, the standard American diet, like a lot was a convenience, a lot of it in school food, a lot of it in just restaurants around in certain communities. Like if you have Native American communities or you have minority communities, there's not going to be natural grocers or Whole Foods. It's going to be a lot of gas stations and fast food.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of factors come into place. A lot of marketing comes into place. And I was just like just taking all that back, and I'm just like just sitting there in like period of my life where honestly like after high school, because I chose not to play football, even though I had an offer because of off-field issues, my mental health wasn't right. I was self-destructing because I had no purpose because of football. So like taking that perspective in life, like not realizing that we're even more than athletes. It's like, what is life? What is life about? Like, fuck recognition or money. Like, how do you want to treat myself? And then that's like that process. It was just a big change for me. Like it went downhill actually because I didn't know. I thought I knew everything, and then it came back to I descended to then reascend to realize like, wow, nature has everything I need. Like I'm here to live in harmony with nature. I'm here to take care of myself, to move efficiently. I'm not here to move statically. I'm here to move dynamically. I'm here to move in relation to my day-to-day life. I'm here to eat food in relation to how I want to be. Like if I want to be successful, I got to eat food that makes me successful. It gives me energy. If I want to feel good, if I want to feel healthy. And that's that perspective, like that shift in myself, like literally it's like me starting to respect myself. And like and it's like being me and Jenny is like interesting too, because she helps me in a certain way, like just certain stuff like cleaning up after yourself, or like making your bed, or like sweeping the house,
Little habits.
yeah, like washing dishes for yourself. Like a lot of those moments, like we don't take care of ourselves, and then we feel down, and then we have all these things pile up. And like on many levels, it's like weight, like with food aspect, like people don't want to eat healthy, then they get sick, right? Or they get overweight, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I got to make this change now. Now there's so much pressure because I have to overcome so much of this. And I feel like naturally, I mean, that happens as human beings. Even for me, tragedies are the most extreme stuff ever, always propels us. And so after high school, I had that just downfall, emotional, off the field issues, personal things. Didn't go play football. I went to community college. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do as community college? Basically, my parents kicked me out third semester. And I said, well, shit, I got to provide for myself.
Yeah.
Then I just started providing for myself, working my butt off 2 jobs. And that propelled me into the idea of like trying to do something for myself. And I tried to make fitness wavy first because it was about fitness. And I was like, no,
I remember that. Yeah.
this thing is deeper. And I'm like, plants, I don't know, something about plants, just electricity, the fact that my body's aligned to plants is from nature, it's living foods, it's compassionate lifestyle, it's sustainable, and it's something that is a relationship that we have with Earth. Like, the plants are here for a reason. They teach us, they genetically change us. And when you're talking about trauma, you're talking about people have inflammation or stored emotions, like plants will aid anybody, any situation. You know, they say herbs for meditation, medication. I mean, you name it. But just to fast forward that, my passion for movement, I think it propelled me to really realize that I was ignorant of what true health was, and that I had to make it all happen, come together. So like, instead of doing a lot of bodybuilding stuff, I started doing functional patterns, so like different movement. I started eating differently, like I became vegan. I started thinking differently. I started listening to different music. I realized like the power of just my own thoughts, like my own words, like how I speak about myself, the music I have around me, what is feeding my inner dialogue. And just like that, just intentional living at its finest. Like, it's abracadabra. It is what I say. Like, it is what you speak. Ultimately, like, when we are that powerful, like, we are creative of our own reality. Like, I'm not saying I can manifest or alter everything, but I have choices. These choices have consequences. My thoughts are choices, you know. And so it's like just realizing that like we're that powerful. Like, how can I be living so recklessly, like not taking care of myself, or drinking, or having meaningless interactions with people, or you know, having like meaningless sexual encounters with people, like spilling my energy on all levels. That's another thing too. Like it had to take me to the point, like we live so fast and disconnected that like I know a period of time, like and I see like for many people, like we get introduced to a way of living that is subject to society that we probably wouldn't choose for ourselves. And like one thing I would say is like taken into like point of respect is pornography. Like that idea of in society will push it, make it accessible, make it free. But in reality, like we don't realize how it affects our self-dialogue, our intimacy. Like it drains our energy. We literally give our energy to a device, a stimulation, without like, so it's like those things I remember like being introduced to as a kid, and then not knowing what to do with that accessibility, then realizing like discipline, like who I wanted to be. Like in this world, same thing with fast food. People have so much accessibility. They don't really know what they want to eat. They don't have time because they're working. Or they got to go to their girlfriend. Then they got parents. They got family. Yeah. So then it's like they're subject to what society or reality is providing. Yeah. And I feel like once we slow down, and once we realize like what we deserve, what we need, and it's for me, that's when I came to the plants, the herbs, the sea moss. Because for me, I was like I heard this lyric best. It's like, I'm a patient learning patience. Like these plants, although in Sea Moss, although we provide them for other people, I only provide them because we've used them and we still use them ourselves. And I myself need them more than other people because I know that just it's not the fact that I don't take care of myself, but it's just like my body, the neglect I've given it, the situations, the poverty I've lived in, being an orphan, like all these things add up. And I just like don't want to be that person at 80. Like I had to make very fast sacrifices when I was young so that I wouldn't have to suffer later on. So that's just short. No, I don't want to rant too much because
that's good.
I definitely get going and I got to find the balance.
No, that's good.
What is Sea Moss?
Sea moss is a nutritionally rich sea vegetable. So it grows in cold waters, warm waters. The one that we get is from Vietnam. It's called Eucomus spinosum. That's like the scientific name of the sea moss strain. But it's highly nutritious, very good for your thyroid, good for prebiotic, good for your bones because it's very rich in calcium, great for arthritis. It can be used topically or orally. So ultimately, like you have cuts, scrapes, burns, or you want to use it as a natural face mask. Like honestly, like infections, you can use it to top it. Like honestly, I split open my eye, I put sea moss, it works. Like, it's just very, very diverse. Sea
It's very
vegetable.
multi-purpose for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm on y'all's website and it's crazy. Like
You
showing the
you
Like-
eat sea moss?
Yeah, we do. Sometimes it's hard to explain what is CMOS because there's so many
So much stuff that goes in.
benefits.
Yeah.
It's like, which one do I say? You
How
know?
do I
Yeah.
sell it to people? You
Yeah.
know, it's
So it's kind of, there should be a book on CMOS, like if anything, but it's just very versatile and there's
That's
so many
what's in
uses.
this big bag.
Yeah, this is the dried CMOS in like its raw form without it being processed or anything.
and that's gold. So that one is sun dried. The purple is cooled in a warehouse,
Yeah.
so it's more controlled environment. So that's, but they're both nutritionally still very, very equivalent to each
Uh-huh.
other.
And you would just it says right here like you clean it and you like blend it up. If you were to like consume it, you like blend it up, or could you just eat it like straight like chips?
I do know that there's people
Eat it
that
like that, nah, but
no, actually
It's like
there is
ramen.
people where CMOS is more like common in their culture
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually do eat it raw. It's kind of like a type of seaweed.
Okay. Yeah,
we
that's what I
haven't
was.
tried
yeah.
it raw like
and in
that.
pho, you'll find seaweed.
Yeah,
in there.
seaweed. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking like of that. But then I saw it. It looks more like trees or trees.
Yeah, I feel like you could, but we
Your lungs,
just
your lungs. It looks like your lungs.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does help with the lungs. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and it's also very good for your lungs. One thing about sea moss, like what I realized is over time, this is one of the biggest benefits, and I wish that's the thing. Albert asked me that. I was like really trying to make sure I got him like the best of the best information. But one thing I realized is like it thins mucus. So like people have thick mucus or mucus is
Excess.
coagulated or stuck together.
Yeah.
It'll thin them out and they'll come out through your nose, man.
Really?
They'll come out through everything, bro.
Yeah,
Like I don't even say like honestly like
Yeah.
and it should be coming out because your body is. This is the best way I remember. Your body has 4 chambers of elimination. That's your
Yeah.
breathing. That's why masks really affect people's health negatively because you have to breathe out and
Yeah.
breathe in clean air.
Yeah.
And also pooping, defecation,
Yeah.
peeing, urination,
Like
and
flushing
and
your body of
yeah.
like toxins and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
and
know.
respiration.
I know Albert told us probably a couple years ago that you're supposed to like poop like 6 times a day. Is that like real?
Well, I guess
I don't know about like
I mean, I do because like lately I've been like flushing more. I've been getting like the 4 or 5, but
Yeah.
6, dude.
So-
That's a
Yeah,
lot,
I remember when he
bro.
said
I
6. I,
don't
was
know
like,
if
what
it's
the
like
hell?
consistently 6 poops a day. There's definitely times where I had about 5 or 6,
Yeah.
but pooping a lot is healthier
Yeah.
than not. Definitely.
Yeah, I was just curious because like
yeah, and also
Yeah.
depends on you. Regularly bowel movements supposed to be every time you have a meal. If it's by the end of that day or the next morning, you want to have it out.
that makes
So
sense.
you want to. So if you had 3 or 4 meals a day, you should have at least pooped already that morning from yesterday, and also throughout the day,
Yeah.
if you need to. But sometimes, honestly, bro, like I was saying with tea or sea moss, like I've had times where in the morning I've used the restroom 3 or 4 times, like, and that's regular because our body
That's
should.
good. You want to
Yeah, like-
release all of that when you wake up. You don't-
So I had bought this thing, dude. I wish I had it. I'll probably bring it out here after we stop the first cut. But
That's cool.
it's a like papaya
Oh,
enzyme,
seeds or-
like
Bromelain.
yeah,
oh,
like
not
to,
bromelain. Excuse me.
hold on,
That's
I
pineapple.
ordered it
Fuck.
I ordered it on Amazon, and I'm curious.
Oh,
if it-
papain, the digestive
Yeah,
enzyme.
yeah.
Yeah,
Are
go
those
grab it
good?
real quick.
Papaya seeds. That's
I
the
could.
thing.
Go get it real quick.
But go ahead.
And that's like our goal is like we want to give people the real deal. So like that's like you don't see it in like pills or like something that's not like fresh. Like yes, the gummies are a little less fresh, but like it's still sea moss gel. It's still nutritious, still helping people, and that's why.
Yeah, are these good for you or no?
So it depends how it's preserved. Like enzymes, papaya is
Oh,
great,
I understand.
and also the seeds are great for parasites. And also if you don't know, if you ever need natural abortive,
Yeah.
and don't quote me on this, but like unripe papaya seeds can actually be a natural abortive measure.
I take those. It says take 3 tablets
Yeah.
a day, or 3 tablets
Yeah.
per meal.
Well, here's the
basically.
thing, bro. Like in its intention, papaya enzyme and chlorophyll. You're like, damn, that's healthy. But when you look
Yeah.
at it, bro, this is the thing. Other ingredients, they use sucrose, which is a sugar. It's not
Yeah.
bad. They have calcium carbonate. Then they have maltodextrin, another sugar. Then they have cornstarch. Then they have natural flavors. You don't even know what these natural
Like
flavors
the
are.
dyes and stuff. Does it have that like red?
It doesn't,
or no?
but it has vegetable stearic acid, vegetable magnesium stearate, fructose, another sugar, and date powder. So there's like multiple sugars, other things. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like it really depends on how they preserve nature or allow nature to do its thing.
Yeah.
And a lot like cornstarch, all these like starches, gums, or like acids, like they just do too much. Like, you don't need that many preservatives if you even chose. Like, people back in the day, they would preserve with salt, sugar, or vinegar. Like, there wasn't like xanthan gum arabic,
Yeah.
or like, and then there wasn't like citric acid from black mold, or like sometimes a lot of them, they use emulsifiers like soy. You know, all these red colors, red 40. I don't even know the colors, like, but all these carcinogens. Yellow 6.
Red, yellow, blue. Yeah.
Can you do me a favor and tighten your mic? It's just right here.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
turn
yeah.
it.
My fault.
No, it's not. You're good. The top part. Yeah,
This one?
This right here.
This part. Yeah. The
Oh,
circular.
this one?
Yeah,
Oh, I
this-
see.
Yeah. Get it tighter. The bottoms tighter on.
Let me see.
Imagine.
Oh, okay, so I see.
I just
trying
saw
to figure out
I
what
saw
you're
it about to
saying.
fall, and I was like,
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, my fault.
no, you're good. That's not your fault.
No, that's crazy. I mean,
But yeah, that's why like something like this, like if somebody went from this to Sea Moss, they feel a difference because that's
'cause
fresh.
I've been on that probably for like 2 or 3 months, I would say.
Is it mostly
this
for
is better.
digestion?
Yeah,
for
it's
you
like
support?
for flushing, I think.
Papain,
like, just
yeah,
like gut
that's
health
what
and
it
stuff.
has.
Or like if I have like a shiesty weekend and just eat a bunch of like just bullshit, like that has been helping me.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying it's not gonna help.
Yeah, I mean,
or it's
there's
void
benefits,
of
but
nutrients.
you could also just
I would
eat
definitely
the
like
papaya.
want to switch to like the better stuff.
Yeah.
But I was just like asking. I was like,
It's like Drake says. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you
I mean
can do
that's a good
bad.
starter
It's
for me.
kinda
Like I'm easing my way
yeah,
into it.
There's
You know?
like the best things, and then the
Yeah. That's
Okay,
that's
yeah.
like the fast food version. I feel like of the Sea Moss.
Nah, that's better than that. I would say, but it's pretty. It's decent. Like it's good. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Good, better, best. Like
yeah.
in
Well,
life.
for me, it's like if you have to take this, it's like, well, what are you eating that's
true.
you taking this?
That's
you know?
true.
So
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
maybe,
That is true. Yeah, that's what I said. For them shiesty weekends, I'm like, I feel a little better. And it helps like
yeah, I
move
mean, it
through
helps
me.
you flush, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, it's nice.
you know, when you look at that, you're like, well, it's kind of like a cycle that keeps going if you continue to eat bad and then flush
That's
with
true.
this. Like, it's good because you're removing that, but at the same time, it's not sustainable because you're like, you know, putting it in and then you take it out and then you put it in.
Yeah,
It's
no
kinda
doubt.
Like that.
No doubt.
And for us, it's like we obviously encourage people to eat better so that they don't have to depend on
Yeah.
stuff like this. And it saves you money and it saves you the trouble of having to like, you know,
Yeah.
constantly like go through that.
What
Now
about like
someone-
go ahead, sorry.
My fault. I say now someone would probably be like, well, why the hell would I buy Sea Moss or herbs in that sense?
Well,
But
yeah.
the thing is that like those are different. Those are the main ingredients. There's not additives or anything. And those are a great supplement onto people, and they're fresh, bioavailable ingredients. And it's not like the other stuff has none. It's just inferior to the fresh stuff. Like that's why like if you have elderberry syrup that you make fresh in the last 3 or 4 weeks before it ferments, if you compare that to the elderberry syrup that you probably see at like Natural Grocery, all these shelves that's there for years, there's no way like there's preservatives or things, or they might
To
use
keep
honey.
it to last. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like where it's like used by and it'll
Exactly.
be like 7-8 months later in the year. Yeah, that
Which is
definitely
not a
like,
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like this. If we have fresh food and we have canned food, like we're probably gonna have fresh. But we might canned food might still have a place, but doesn't mean it's like should be demonized. But also doesn't mean that we should normalize kids having lunches with canned food or canned
At
fruits,
every meal, at
vegetables,
least. Yeah.
and it's like that option. But if someone has canned food, I'm not gonna demonize them. I'm not gonna make people have eating disorders or think that like they can't eat, like they can never eat chips. It's like, yo, eat chips, but know that that's not nutritious. Like take care of yourself, but then to have nutrition and fuel, but also enjoy yourself. But if you're enjoying yourself without fueling your body, you're gonna have long-term deficiencies over time.
I guess for like a selling point, so if you were to like talk to someone and they're like, yo, Sea Moss expensive, because he asked like, what is Sea Moss? What do you tell? Is it expensive? And then like, if it is, then like, how do you like convince someone to like buy that?
Also, do y'all grow it yourselves or y'all get it, I guess, imported as well? 2 questions. You can answer this first.
Yeah, well, we have a distributor. We
Okay.
don't our hands on it, but we do have like, you know, all the ins and outs of how this person that supplies us grows their Sea Moss and everything. So
They've
we're
been
pretty
doing it for 25 years.
yeah, we're pretty transparent with who
Okay.
we source.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just like where the Sea Moss is
Yeah.
coming from. It's not made from us, at least not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's from a clean, like, tourist area of Vietnam.
Mhm.
And, like, same thing with herbs. Like, we only use organic herbs. So it's nothing that, we're just not using random herbs or people growing it. And we don't know what they're spraying it on there as much as
Yeah.
possible. And, like, so a lot of them are growing in Oregon. And so just, like, focusing on that quality, like, as much as we can. And, like, same thing with our infusions for Sea Moss or our water.
And then also we did do a lot of research before even presenting this to people. I mean, we're using Sea Moss before we started providing it for people. So there was like a whole phase of researching and knowing what we're offering before we just put it out there for people.
Exactly.
Yeah. What would be like, I guess.
Well, and my fault,
Yeah.
but we forgot to answer one of the
Nah,
questions.
Yeah, I was about to say what is the
cost?
the
Yeah, like,
cost of it?
what is
So,
like the
like,
cost normally?
Honestly, it's very cost effective. Like right now, we sell a pound for $45, right?
Okay.
And no person doesn't even need a pound of sea moss because
I thought that's a lie because it's
Yeah.
like light.
exactly
Yeah.
it
Is
expands.
that a pound?
That's
No,
2
that's
ounces.
2 ounces.
Yeah.
$15.
But
that
it
can make
expands when it rehydrates with water.
Okay.
so this
How-
makes 32 ounces of gel
How long should like this last you, months wise? I guess you could say.
a month. That
If it's for a person, I would say, like what, 4 weeks or 3 weeks at the
Really?
most.
yeah,
But if
because
it's for more people, then obviously less because it would be a multiple people taking Sea Moss.
But that's still like pretty cheap for like
$15
for $15 for a month. Like you think about
Yeah.
just other supplements, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
then
it's
we-
also because it's not as processed. Sometimes when you make other products, there's so much that goes
Yeah.
into them, like all these fillers and sometimes chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
So it increases the prices. But when it's more natural, then it doesn't have to be crazy expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, when people get a pound, and like we sell 5-pound and 10-pound increments, if they get 10 pounds or 5 pounds, they would be good for like a year or so.
Yeah.
So, like, and their family would be good. So it's like, and the thing is, it preserves for a year or two very well. It's like keeping a cool, dry place. It's nothing, you don't really worry about losing anything. Because even when you make it, if you can't consume it and you made a bunch of gel, you just freeze it. And then you consume what you can in the fridge. And then once it's done, thaw it out and just keep consuming.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often? I guess like with these samples, is that like what you would consume, or are you like just using it for anything? Like a lot of different like stuff. I guess like what are y'all's 5 uses beside or like consumable uses?
So for me, I mostly consume the Sea Moss gel, which is like what most people tend to get from us because we have different products. And I mostly just consume it raw, but sometimes I add it to smoothies. I've made baked goods with it as a binder or like egg replacer.
Okay.
I use it as a face mask.
Okay.
So it keeps my skin like,
Yeah.
blemish free. And
Yeah.
I've used it on burns that I've
Okay.
gotten cooking. So I've used Sea Moss in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
but I think the best one for me is eating it for
Yeah.
sure.
Got you. What about you?
I would say for me, eating it, like I like eating it before I run or before I go to the gym. And I also always take in the rising, honestly, before I even have my smoothie. And then for me, like I take about 3 tablespoons of it. So sometimes
Yeah.
more, like I've sometimes take like 6, like trying to take multiple takes recording or like stuff like that. Like you literally
Yeah,
just
but also
just
because
eat a lot
Sergey
of it.
runs and exercises way more than me. So I
Yeah.
feel like he, takes impact more and like actually puts his body in a place where I'm getting to, just like, being more into like doing different sports
Yeah.
and pushing myself.
Yeah.
So I don't need that much compared to him.
So I guess with like since you take it to like work out and stuff, are you guys like do you guys not drink coffee or any caffeine at all?
No.
Because that provides you the energy.
So personally, I've never been a coffee drinker. I've had coffee from Starbucks, but I've never used it to like get throughout my day. And so I think that has allowed me to use other sources of fuel without depending on coffee. And then once I started becoming more conscious about food and how it affects me, coffee was not in the books for me because
Really?
it's like it's stimulating you and giving you fake energy.
Okay.
Instead of doing that, I want to get real energy, so I'm not also damaging like my adrenals and like other stuff that
And you're, like,
coffee
your
has.
levels.
Kidneys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually, what I say, constricts your blood flow.
Yeah,
And also can affect
jittery,
iron
anxiety,
absorption.
it can create all of that too. And it's It's one of those drugs that is very normalized.
Yeah, that and
Because it
sugar.
does have, a lot of
Yeah.
effects
Yeah.
that are addicting.
Yeah.
And also the thing is that these modern day plants, like they've been hybridized to have higher amounts of
Yeah.
caffeine.
Yeah.
So like there are plants that have natural amounts of caffeine, like yerba mate, or like
Matcha.
guardiana, excuse me, guardiana I think it's called, or guayusa, excuse me.
Yeah.
A couple of these plants, like green tea, obviously black tea, like those would be better options because they're plant. But like some people even say, when we look at it, is like the plant produces caffeine to actually as a defense mechanism to keep things from consuming it, which I always found was interesting. But growing up, I didn't drink coffee, but I used caffeine to like pre-workout and stuff. And honestly, I haven't been doing it the last 3 years, and I feel like a lot of it was mental, and a lot of it was like if I have fruits or like sometimes I have like 6 to 10 bananas in a smoothie,
Yeah.
and like I'll put some dates in there. Like I have a lot of energy, and if I'm drinking water, I'm hydrated. I'm eating plants, like I'm good. Like every single day, I have potatoes, bananas. Like I have so many carbs, and like I feel like and people get so
Yeah.
scared of carbs, and I kid you not, like even if someone is diabetic, carbohydrates would still be a lot easier. Like fruits would be so easier on their body versus them having processed foods or having things that are fats, because people don't realize pancreas, the first function is to move carbohydrates in and out of cells. Then it's omega fatty acids. Then it's amino acids. But kid you not, fructose in fruits doesn't even need insulin to be able to go into your cells because it moves through active diffusion. So it really goes in without insulin. So your body doesn't even spike blood glucose levels the same way or force your pancreas to have to produce anything to be able to absorb that sugar. So like just little stuff like that, like flowing with that rather than going against that. Like our bodies thrive off of sugars, and we talk about this a lot. People are so scared, and they're like, "How could you eat that? How could you
Well,
survive?"
once you start seeing like food as energy, you see that not food has energy and not all food is made the same.
Oh yeah.
So for example, like, eating stuff that's always like in a box that that came from a factory, it didn't even see the sunlight. So when you eat foods that are actually coming from the ground and that they're getting all these nutrients from the ground and like water and all that process, then you start seeing food different. So a lot of things that we used to see as food, we don't even see it as food anymore. So I feel like the perception on food does change, and that helps us like stay in track with what we eat, and it makes in the end it makes it a lifestyle basically, because you're like, okay, I get it. It makes it easier to like adapt to, because we didn't grow up like this. I didn't grow up, eating
Yeah, I
like
was just
this
reading
either.
like your bio and stuff on your website, and I mean, no, like definitely, it's crazy because I mean, you just don't look at it that way. Just
and I mean
and
it's
all that.
we're not taught how to like really take care of ourselves in every way.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, you kind of figure it out. But the more you know, it's like the more you're able to do for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, I've been able to change, because sometimes people think that we don't get it, but it's like, no, I've been there. It's a realization that you go through, and, makes you make better choices.
How long have y'all been vegan?
So me, I'm like 3.6, like over 3.5 years for me.
For me, I want to say like 5 years.
Oh wow.
What made you go vegan? What was it that
So it
made
was
you transition?
a few things that happened that kind of like sparked an interest. My initial interest was never to go vegan. It just kind of happened within my transition. But it started with me being interested in the quality of my water. I never really paid attention to that. And so when I started to like get into where my water was coming from, where it was sourced, then I got into food. And I'm like, okay, I never really thought about it. And I think that interest is what basically kept me curious enough to learn these things that I never thought about. And that's when I came across people talking about, eating plant-based, how it makes them feel better. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it out, because I've never done it. I want something different. I wanted to, have control of like how I was taking care of myself. And so I basically made the choice to not eat meat. And then I did it. It wasn't that hard at the beginning, but then, you know, it took some unlearning, relearning.
Yeah.
And then as I learned new things, I was letting go of old habits, you know, not eating the same foods, trying new foods, and just being open-minded to the idea of what this lifestyle was about, instead of just being ignorant and saying, oh, I don't know anything about it. But that's because I was choosing not to inform myself. So I think with me having the interest is what led me to this lifestyle by accident. So it was a little bit of things that were changing in my life that, you know, made it for me to like get into this better.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah.
And
And for me, I think it was a few reasons. Like, I was at a period of my life, like I just was tired of feeling a certain way. Like, I always grew up like a sick kid because I was like very malnourished when I was younger, and when I came to America, I still had deficiencies, and like my parents, they just didn't, like, it's hard for everyone to know everything. Like, with certain things, my parents, like, they worked hard, provide, but like we didn't really have education of nutrition or like food. I didn't have a healthy relationship with food, like, and things like that. And also, just like the idea of taking care of myself, like on more than just food, on different levels, like, you know, like hygiene, or like brushing your hair, like putting oils in your hair, like, you know, like putting shea butter in your face, like washing your face, like things like that, like that we take for granted. But like, it's those little steps that give us like motivation, momentum. And I started seeing like self-worth and respect, and I was like, I realized my food choices weren't respecting me. On top of that, my food choices don't respect animals. And a part of that, a lot of it's like there's a victim involved whenever we consume animal products. And on top of that, like, this victim is feeling the suffering for me to take in something in my body that I don't necessarily need to. And also, a lot of times it has a negative impact. And it's like, seeing that, I was just like, okay, like, a lot of this is like based on ignorant, and a lot of it was like, I felt like I needed to already done this. Like, I was like, how the hell did I grow up eating all this shit, like all these hormones, all of these things, all this industry that's like flooded with just so much. And like, I was eating it so loosely, and like at any place, fast food. And I was like, this is just not the way I want to live my life. I want to be successful. I want to take care of myself. I want to be athletic. I want to be in shape. I want to be an athlete. I can't deprive my body. And on top of that, like, the compassion aspect for me is like something that I realized, like, if I respect myself, I respect other beings. And we're not in the same situation of survival. Like, we don't need to oppress animals. And oppressing animals and then drugging them up to give ourselves food is redundant to me of how it was in a natural way if people were consuming animals. Like, they were wild fed, and they were in the wild. They weren't cooped up and treated in ways. And on top of that, many people would say, oh, like, what about indigenous people? Or like, how can you say you're vegan? But I feel like it wasn't even about being perfect. In the same way it happened naturally for Jenny, same thing with me. I started changing the way I was moving. I started changing the music I was listening to. I started listening to conscious music. I started, like, I was having plant medicine experiences and things of that sort. And I just realized, like, introspectively, like, this is energy. Like, I want to create love. I want to embody love, feel love. This is a lot of fear, suffering, a lot of division, a lot of manipulation in these industries. It's like, it's just not as intentional as what I wanted it to be. And I feel like on an environmental, moral, and also health level, it was a no-brainer at that time.
Yeah, and I just feel like food consciousness is what makes us like see the bigger picture, because I don't think most of us think about, like, you know, the industries and like all these people that, you know, are like big brands. And I mean, that's just because we usually are just the consumers. But when you really see the, you know, the morals of these factories and how they treat our planet, it doesn't align with how we truly feel about like our world. Like, personally, I'm not saying I can change the world with, you know, a snap of my hand, but we do have a role in how the world is. So if my food choices create an impact, then that means, you know, I have to really see if it's a good impact or not. And so I don't know, I just feel like it's not just veganism, it's just having awareness of how you live impacts where you live, and knowing how, you know, climate change and like all this talk about how the world is not doing well, it makes you think on a bigger aspect and on a bigger picture, like
Thinking collectively.
because I mean we are in this place together, so even though it takes a lot to change the world for the better, I feel like collectively if we, you know, refine our choices, and we can, you know, change the world with that.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to chime in here, like the industry, we don't realize a lot of the industry is geared to making us almost sick, to giving us the cheapest and the bare, like the worst of the worst quality. Like they will do the most inhumane things or pay the most amount of money to ensure that it keeps going, and that regulations are very low, or that you know there's not actual real workers in there. It's usually immigrants, so they don't have a say, so they can't say anything, that they can't complain about pay or the conditions. On top of that, if Tyson supplied McDonald's, right, for the longest. Tyson was one of the number supplier. Tyson was known to have majority of their chickens be cannibalistic. They'd feed their own chickens, and like people are
And they
eating
couldn't
that.
walk either. They would be just
mutated.
they'd break their legs and stuff all the time and just sit there like on the ground.
Like, bro, that's
They're so
like Food Inc.
Oh, you've seen
I've seen Food Inc. I've seen
see, it's disgusting.
I've seen all that stuff. I've read a book on all that stuff too.
And it's good that you say that, because I think that's what is helping a lot of people realize that it's documentaries on stuff that is not on television.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
It disconnects you from the real truth.
So I like documentaries for that reason. It really gives you a better perspective of things that we don't always think about.
Yeah.
It's like milk. They always make milk seem so happy and joyful. At the end of the day, a lot of these cows are plugged up to a machine. Or first of all, a lot of these cows are being forced impregnated to then lactate, and then they're being plugged up to a machine that's draining them of gallons and gallons of milk that would be going to their baby that's probably being sent to slaughter. And it's like
And it's
Happy Meals and all this Happy Milk, all these things like, or whatever they call all these brands. I can't even think of this brand that I'm trying to think of. That's a dairy brand, but it's like something happy, or like they have all these like good words, but in reality the truth is opposite of what it's presented.
A lot of them have to like even pay out a lot of like the stuff they do. So for example, they'll create a lot of environmental disasters, but they go unnoticed because they have so much money that they're just, you know, paid out, and like nobody knows about these things. So in technical, like with that, it's like, why support these industries? You know, if we want to have a better world. And that's why so many people don't even like our world. They could care less, or they don't even want to have kids because they don't want their kids to be here. So it's like, why is it that we're making this place unlivable when it's very abundant? It's very rich and alive. But I feel like because the food industry sometimes have a lot of power over our food, it's easy for us to just take what is available.
So do you think if like stuff wasn't as mass produced, like killing cattle or chickens? Because I'm thinking about like back to prehistoric times or like cavemen. Like I feel like, or like when people would start hunting and stuff, like I feel like it wasn't like obviously mass done, but they would like say, I don't know, kill like a buffalo and then eat on that for like a whole tribe. Like, how do you feel about like that as opposed to now?
I think that's a whole different conversation.
Okay.
But I also think that what many people fail to realize is, I know that there was many successful agricultural societies in the past, and everybody likes to think that like everybody was just a caveman, or that we're the most modern or the most knowledgeable. But there have been many people, many astrotheologists, many people, there's been tribes in Mexico and a lot of other areas of the world that did eat predominantly plants. They would only consume small amounts of animals. And it was almost ritualistically that they would even consume the animals. But on top of that, like, I think it's like, in general, like humans have been doing it forever, but I think there's just a different level of density. Like when someone like thirsts for blood and wants that, and then goes out the way to kill, or it's like it's a different level of experience than it is of, in a different level of consciousness than someone that's working and balance, knowing that they can grow or just forage what's already around them and then grow new. That, I think that's a different level of consciousness. Like, you're not working to destroy in order to benefit. You're working to have a mutualistic relationship where you plant, take care, and it takes care of you.
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, it's, the thing is that there's not one thing that it's going to, like, you know, fix everything. It's just like changing the way we eat is like one factor of a lot of problems. I mean, there's so many problems,
pollution,
of course.
all that,
So it's just one aspect. But what I realized in my journey is that with plants, they regenerate. You can regrow from plants.
And it's way quicker too.
Yeah, with animals, you kill the animal and you can't regrow from its head, from another limb. So it seems more effective to grow something that can keep on giving me food instead of me killing an animal every time for food.
And the crazy thing is, these animals, like turkeys for Thanksgiving, they're only like a couple weeks or months old, and then they get them mature by hormones pumping them up to get them this big size. Same thing with the chickens, and a lot of them don't even mature. And so it's like there's nothing close to natural about that anymore, to the point to where like don't get me wrong, there are pesticides and herbicides about plants, but they are real plants. They are growing in the ground. They do have nutrients. They are there. And don't get me wrong, like, people can eat animals and survive, but do you want to survive, or do you want to thrive? Like, or are you doing it for pleasure? Or are you doing it because that's your indigenous way? Like, people have their own reasons. But one thing is, it's like, is it sustainable? And for me personally, from my perspective, what I've seen is not sustainable for the world to do. And personally, for my own health, it wasn't sustainable, or else I would have stayed. And on top of that, I don't think it's sustainable, because unless we're going to produce
it's also being
animals.
mass produced. I mean, you know, they're cutting like football fields of land to make room to grow animals.
Like, if you look at like a lot of ranches, like the amount of cows that are like on certain ranches, it's like, geez, that's like it's crazy.
Yeah,
and I feel like that causes
it's
like
ridiculous.
A lot of pollution from like their waste and like
The manures.
Yeah, like all that.
I
like,
mean, that's the thing, like, I've read a lot of books and seen documentaries, because you're not going to find this online. I feel like if this was online or like on TV, you know, the industries would not be like functioning. So a lot of it is like behind the scenes. But basically, like, when I see, you know, like how detrimental it is to the planet, you're like, well, shit, I'm kind of messing up the planet itself, you know. So it has been proven that like overconsumption or like mass production of animal agriculture does create ocean dead zones. It does create a lot of pollution, and there's a lot of like negatives to it more than positives. And we're only basically using it to feed people, but it's not out of survival, but more like pleasure.
Like, I want to get a steak. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, because I mean, we're pretty privileged, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
To like have the availability to eat really good meals, because other countries it's different. So I feel like because we're in that position, it's so easy for us to be like, you know, my steak, my chicken, like, you know, really attach ourselves to food, because food is an enjoyment. It's how we socialize. It's in our cultures.
And the accessibility of it,
so
we don't even realize there's a life behind that. That it's something. Think about a wing. People have 10 or 20 wings, right? A chicken only has 2 wings.
That is crazy.
There's people eating 10. That's 10.
10 chickens, bro.
Yeah, bro. And it's crazy. like I don't even know. I don't even want to laugh, because it's like, it's really fucked up, because these animals, like humans we have this level of entitlement. Like, the animals are like some ignorant. I feel like it's kind of like the same way if humans think that another human's not conscious. They like try to manipulate them, or like use them, or like use them for money, or like I feel like humans do that with animals, thinking that they don't know that. A lot of these animals feel that, they show disgust to that, but they just don't have the ability to escape situations, or it's just they're under our care, and we don't take care of them.
Well, and I feel like there's like not even natural selection anymore to like, because I mean, if we weren't eating the animals, then like something would have to, there's a food chain at some level. But I feel like now there's so many like chickens, cows, for example.
Yeah.
There's so many now.
Well,
Like we stopped. It's like,
yeah.
where are they? Like, I don't
So
know.
actually,
But they would
that's a
still
good-
die.
You
Yeah.
know, that's a good point that you bring, because technically, like, the chickens that we eat,
Yeah.
they're not natural in nature. So, like,
Yeah.
they're modified, they're created for us to eat.
Yeah.
So the only reason why there's so many is because they're being mass produced.
Mhm.
So I feel like the less people consume them, that will go down
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And then if, let's say hypothetically, if everybody just stopped, then there's no need to create chickens, bring
Mhm.
chickens into life
Mm-hmm.
to then kill them.
On top of that, we've killed like predator and prey in all the many food chains out of
Yeah.
ignorance, out of pelts, money. So
Yeah.
like that's the thing.
Yeah, hunting and stuff.
And people always talking about overpopulation, but like there's so much land that's unsettled out here, and on top of that, like animals, like they're still like people choose what animals they revere and respect, and they call certain animals pets, and the other animals are nothing to them. Like they'll have a dog and they'll love it, and I this is me. I was like, I'm a hypocrite. I had a dog, I love my dog, but then this other animal, I would say, oh, I can just eat you. Like you're not anything. Like you're a cow, you're food, you're a pig, you're food,
Yeah.
but this dog, no, you can't do nothing. In fact, you touch my dog, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
If you leave this dog in the car,
But
if you leave this dog in the car for an hour in a hot ass car, you're going to jail. These trucks that carry these animals, they're in there in fucking 3 days with no water and heat, ass to ass, neck to neck, literally packed in this truck for fucking days traveling, and like it's just a whole nother level.
No, that's a good perspective because I mean, there's
Yeah.
That's also like country by country too.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
there's other countries who like they won't eat goats, but like
You're
we'll
right.
eat goats.
or like China, they
Yeah.
eat dogs.
Or they call
and
it
to us,
nasty.
it's kind of like
That's
wait,
weird.
we have dogs as pets.
Yeah.
We love our
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
But that's their culture.
Yeah,
you know,
it
so
is,
It
yeah.
doesn't make it right, but it's like.
there's
you
no
know,
real judgment because it's like what's right to them isn't right to us, but vice
'cause
versa.
We would never even
Yeah,
think of trying
exactly.
dog problem. Maybe
Yeah.
if we tried some other animal that we're
Mhm.
okay with. But even ourselves as humans, we have, restrictions with what we can eat. Because I've never like had horse. People eat horse. I would never try horse
It's
either.
crazy.
And I feel like if you don't grow up like, if that's not in you, it'll make you like extremely sick, like eating something like that
Yeah,
at
and
this
then-
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And thinking about that shit
Yeah.
too, like
It's kind of
Yeah.
taboo because you're used to like chicken, like cow and
yeah,
stuff like
even
that.
like even things like alligator, shark, like those are like considered
like-
exotic
yeah,
like
yeah,
meals
yeah.
in the U.S.
So, do you think an athlete, whether if it's a bodybuilder, football player, baseball player, do you think they can be successful being vegan versus like having to eat like all the chicken, the steaks, and getting all that protein?
yes, I would say, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady implements a high plant-based vegan diet. Tom Brady also drinks the same ionizer we have, the ACE13 tie-in. So like you invest time and money and take care of your body and put quality into it. I think many people don't realize like carbohydrates is our number one energy source. Plants have carbohydrates in abundance, and they also come with fats. They don't come with saturated fats. They don't have cholesterol like that. When some of them don't even have cholesterol, like potato doesn't have cholesterol. Russet potato doesn't have cholesterol, doesn't have any fat. Like it's a bunch of carbs, and it has iron, it has all of these minerals. So like we start looking at just like the nutritional value and how the body runs. Your body produces much more energy with carbohydrates. And our body, if it doesn't need to use the sugars, it creates this glycogen storage. So our body's very intelligent, but like people stress over protein, and protein's not an energy source. Our
So
body
the acid from that.
synthesizes its own proteins using amino acids, and guess what? Animal products are protein, so the body has to use energy to break it down into amino acids. Plants already come in amino acid form. So your body it's already more readily available, bioavailable. On top of that, the iron form in plants, your body can use it as it needs and remove the excess. And hemoglobin iron found only in blood and tissue, and it's just animal products. Your body has no mechanism to excrete the excess. So it just shows certain things that like on top of that, our body runs off of fiber. We need fiber to clean our intestines through digestion and to add bulk. Animal products don't have any fiber. And so that's why they cause a lot of indigestion, fermentation, bloating. And so like really when I see athletes would be running on a much cleaner fuel source, and a lot of like world's strongest man, one of the guys people say he's a con, but who lifts heavy weight. He was vegan. And he was breaking records. Yeah. And it's like, I think it's that people have a mental perspective and limitation, and also this culture of like soy boy or like all these things, you know, they try to, and the one saying it, the same one saying it on fucking Juice and doing all this weird shit behind the scenes. Yeah.
And I also feel like nowadays you are seeing more vegan athletes, whether it's, you know, competing in
Chris Paul
running or like, you know, fighting. Huh?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out.
I don't know what it's called, but
I'll talk about it in a minute.
Like, I'm not even an athlete, but I just know that you are seeing it more in like sports.
The reason I asked that question, because what he said is the ones that I know of, like who are like know are vegan, they get hurt a lot, and I didn't know like if they just get hurt or because saying, like, do you remember Arian Foster?
Yeah,
he was like one of the first, pretty much like public, I guess, vegan football players. Yeah. And then as soon as that happened, he just kept getting hurt, and that was like the end of his career. And then Chris Paul as well.
Mm-hmm. So I will say that's I could see how somebody could see the correlation there, but also could say like it also depends on people's injury history. I don't know his injury history. Also, it depends like how well planned it is. And a lot of these athletes, they don't realize is, and I was one of the athletes when I was younger, is that if you're doing like people have a nutritional standard, right? They always say 2,000 calories, but if you're an athlete, you need more than that. Yeah. Many of them don't replenish enough. And as I was mentioning earlier to Albert's, like plants are nutritionally dense, but not always calorically dense. So you have to eat a higher volume, or you have to have denser foods like grains, beans, legumes, potatoes, bananas, some starches, plantains. But like the thing is that I really feel like a lot of that could be seen based on the perspective. But you look at Chris Paul, he used to get injured before. This year he didn't get injured. And he played. It's like maybe timing, but like that's the thing with veganism. They always look to prove. They always wanted to prove a negative perspective that vegans are weak or vegans can't be athletes. Nate Diaz versus McGregor. McGregor was eating steaks. Nate Diaz was on the plants.
Is that why he bleeds like a lot?
I don't know, man.
The reason he bleeds quick is because he has all the scar tissue. Like I said, Nate Diaz he's been fighting for a minute, but he's also been vegan for a long time as well.
So I mean,
but yeah, the reason he bleeds quick is because he's just scar tissue. He gets hit once, he's bleeding.
You're right.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of factors, but veganism is not the most socially acceptable, yet it's the biggest movement that's growing.
Trendy, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask, like, how do y'all feel about it? Like, I mean, obviously not to judge anyone or to like step on someone's toes or anything like that, but I mean, you guys are well educated in what y'all do, what y'all serve, the service you provide, and then y'all been vegan for 3+ years. It's a long time. It's a long commitment to really doing something. It's really a lifestyle. You can't see yourself doing anything else besides that. So when all these people are just, oh, I'm going vegan or I'm vegan now, like, what do y'all think about that? And then like also like, do you think they're really doing it like properly, even like doing even like the over and under? And I feel like I have an idea what y'all's answers gonna be, but I'm curious
vegan
to hear about it.
I mean, I don't blame them because I feel like when something is trending, a lot of people do want to partake in it because it's being noticed by a lot of people. I mean, just think about it now. You see the word vegan in every store. You know, vegan this, vegan that. So I don't blame them. I feel like some people do it because they want to try it out, maybe change, see what it is. But I think the difference is education. If you don't really educate about what you're doing, then you can't really stick to it. So I think for me, it doesn't personally cause
effect.
Like an effect, like it doesn't upset me. It's just like I wish people would actually take the time to know what it is about and the foundation instead of just doing it because of a trend.
Yeah.
That would just be my thing. But I mean, I don't blame them if they don't because everybody's different. Not everybody wants to learn. Some people just want to be trendy.
Yeah.
How long have y'all been studying this? Because you say a lot of big words, and
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
even
just
know
like,
how
what
you
the
like
fuck?
understand this and know it does this, and this.
Well, honestly, like, this is the thing. Before I was into this, me personally, like, I had worked at GNC before. Like, I had actually, like, I had a personal training certification, and I had actually had a American Sports Fitness certification. Then I also had done NASM certification in nutrition, but like I paid for both of them. Was gonna take the test, never took the test because I was like, this is trash. Like literally, I was like, I was annoyed. I'm like, this is nothing about how I want to move or how I want to eat, and so it's probably for me been like 6 to 10 year journey. But I would say like the last 3-4 years, it's been like since the late 2018. Like I just kicked it up. Like I was just there's a big shift, and like coming into what you were also asking is like people have to understand there's a difference between plant-based and vegan. Like plant-based, it just means you only eat plants, and like that's cool. Like nothing wrong with people eating plant-based. Like being vegan is like understanding that it's not perfect, but if I'm gonna buy a car that has different texture than leather, I'm gonna do it. If I have to eat a place or like eat foods or like wear clothes that don't have cruelty, I can do that. Like I buy shoes that are vegan only. Like I've thrown away shoes because they weren't vegan because I was like, no,
Really?
this doesn't align with me. I've thrown away belts because they weren't vegan, and like so it's like for me, I just see it as like it doesn't reflect me. It doesn't reflect the energy I want. It's also like very dense energy, and for people, I have no problem them choosing that for their own reasons, and they always will, for their own reasons. And if it's
Yeah.
trending, that's good. But the thing is that I can always tell somebody to imitate my action, but what really matters is the people understanding why I'm doing something in the mental
Yeah.
process, emotional process of why someone would
And
choose
also,
that.
I feel like it's trending now more, but now that I think about it, veganism has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just now it's
It has
blowing
a
up.
label.
Yeah, because like that's how like I feel like vegetarian was like probably like in the early 2000s, and then like it's just continued to evolve like Presbyterian, and then or that, then vegetarian, and then
Presbyterian.
with the fish.
Presbyterian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know shit. Hey, you educate me.
Good, bro.
You know what I'm
I just
saying?
had to. I
Yeah,
just had to show
nah,
her.
it's fine. I mean, educate me.
I feel like
But,
it almost been breatharian. I'm like,
I take like fish oil and stuff. Like, should I be doing that?
That's another thing too. Like I don't think like okay. First of all, like that much concentrated fat, like then your body doesn't need that much concentrated fat by
Yeah.
itself. On top of that, like fish oil, like that's another thing. Marketing, like they always talk about people are deficient. Like omega fatty acids are found in nuts, seeds, in all fruits.
Yum.
Everything, like omega fatty acids are there in abundance. And like here's another thing, like hemp seeds have all 9 amino acids. If you just have hemp seeds, you're covered. Your amino acids are covered. You have a high enough serving of it, or pumpkin seeds. But the thing is that we just have like this fear. We always think that nature is not enough.
well, for me, I feel like it's programming. You know, we grew up being programmed by our families, our peers, school, like everything.
TV, anything.
Yeah, I feel like up until now, this point in my life is where I'm actually programming myself. So actually choosing what I want to learn, whether what I learned was true or not, and it makes sense. And a lot of it doesn't. Like even the way that my parents raised me, it doesn't really align with me now. So I feel like at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And when that knowledge is applied, things do change.
Is it like frustrating, like going to like family events, or if someone asks you to like let's go out to eat, and it's like, well, do they have vegan options? Like that stuff sucks.
I mean, at the beginning, it was hard
Uh-huh.
because it's not normalized. It's
Yeah.
not common for there to be a vegan option at every, gathering. I just had to adjust and
Yeah, like eat
educate
before, like bring something.
Yeah, and just share my perspective on my choices with my family,
Uh-huh.
which at the beginning they weren't welcome. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
you're crazy, what are you doing? It's another thing that the kids are doing.
It's a phase.
Hey,
It's a
yeah, no,
phase
because
for
I mean that's
sure.
what I'm saying. Like with the people just do stuff because it's in,
Yeah,
and like
but-
that's in right now.
You're right.
So,
Yeah, and so my mom, she thought it was going to be a phase, but it wasn't, because apart from like the ethics of veganism, I was suffering from a lot of headaches constantly, constipation, acne. Like I had a lot of problems even if I wasn't like overweight or I had diabetes or these other chronic illnesses. And so I'm like, how is a 20-year-old going to be having all these symptoms? And so I think for me, feeling the difference between what I used to eat to now is the confirmation. And then everything else came with it. Like just learning more about the ethics, the environment, everything that interconnects with veganism, because it's not just food, it's like a lot of things
Exactly.
in it.
And nothing works in isolation.
Yeah.
It's like an energy. Like if I want to feel lively, like I want to feel joyous, like I would do things that make me feel like that, or I would be around people that make me feel like that. And I feel like around same thing with like being around family or friends. Like it's not that I don't want them to do what they want to do. It's that I don't want to be around them doing something that I believe is truly can be unhealthy, life-threatening, and may causes people to suffer. But also on top of that, something that causes animals to suffer. But at the same time, I realize that all the times I try to change my family, like try to be activist for animals, man, I could never change them. Only thing I could do is focus on me, bring my own food. And like my family will incorporate having vegan food for us.
Yeah.
They'll make food, so just letting it be known. And like also certain places, like I don't go to certain places, like I'm not gonna suffer being in a situation, feel uncomfortable to be around other people. Cause it's like if you're inviting me to a place, my values and morals, but you want me to be here, it's like, like we can meet in different terms, a different environments, or like a different place. Like it says something if everybody can do it, or else if only certain people can do it. If we're at a vegan restaurant, everybody can eat, but you try to take me to like a restaurant that has like Mexican food, but I can make maybe a la carte taco with corn and potato and beans.
Rice
I'm
and
not gonna
beans.
complain, but I don't want to be around and see that and enable people, but I also have to have the grace to allow them to choose. Like my family is not vegan.
Yeah, it's like having compassion, because we know that we weren't born like this, but also like having that mutual respect and understanding that, I respect you, you respect me. And sometimes just sharing knowledge has helped people maybe eat more plant-based, eat less meat. Because we can all agree that in America we do eat more meat, more of everything compared to like other countries.
Yeah, there's people that I know that don't even eat like any vegetables.
So it's like
They ain't pooping. No.
Like, they just like, I'm like, bro, like, like, shit, where the green on your plate, bro? Like they got like I got rice. I'm like, where the green on the plate? You know what I mean?
Like,
Like,
for real.
I don't know, like
that's why you
Chicken
see
and rice, broccoli.
my plate need to look like a rainbow,
And that's why you see like so many people being in their 20s having colon cancer, being in their 30s having like type 2 diabetes.
It's true though.
Kidney failures.
Yeah, so it's not just you getting until 70 or 80 to get these. No, it's now people that are so young and they already have so many issues.
Well, 3 out of 4 Americans are obese.
Yeah.
And on another level, like many people, I think a lot of people, even I myself, like I was lactose intolerant. Like that's a funny word to me because none of us should be drinking cow milk. Like none of us are cows.
Yeah.
So
it's so gross too. Like I saw some like video a long time ago,
Right.
like how it was
There's so much
that made me like
mucus
drink
and
like
pus.
almond milk, like go to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
drink
that's what I'm saying.
mucus
That's what
and
made me
pus.
switch to that.
Almond. That's what
I've been drinking almond milk for like
milk.
5 or 6
Yeah,
years.
I feel like
Yeah,
most of
almond
us
milk.
had felt some way towards like drinking milk.
Yeah, like
Almond milk's just fire.
Yeah,
good.
it's so much better.
You could always make your own too. Like
Almond milk's just fire.
Really? How do you do?
Do you like oat milk?
Brief.
I like honestly, my favorite milk is like hemp milk.
Hemp milk.
Hemp milk
Yeah.
because she's made so much, and like also
cashew
walnut milk.
milk.
Cashew milk is very
It's pretty
sweet.
good.
Really?
Really?
Like making your own milk is very easy. Like Jenny showed me, like you kind of just soak the nuts overnight in water to soften them. And then you can do that with dates too, or like you can get date syrup, agave syrup, maple. You basically get the nuts after done soaking overnight, put them in a blender, put the agave or your
Water.
dates, water, blend
And that's
it.
it.
You got your own milk.
Really?
It's only fresh for like 5-7 days, but it's like
I mean,
fresh.
but still, like that. When you think of milk, like people be having milk in their freezer for like 20 days. I'm like, bro, like that can't be good.
Well, that's why it's pasteurized. They use it. They use heat to basically preserve it. And on top of that, like the dairy industry there's a lot of mucus, pus, hormones. Like it just alters people. Like many women don't even realize that a lot of these companies that sell all this advertisement for pink breast cancer awareness, they sell in dairy, and dairy is like one of the major reasons for hormone imbalances in women and due to breast cancer and all those things, because it's for a whole nother animal. On top of it, they're fed a lot of growth hormones, these cows, and they want to produce yield, I'm sure, all these things. So it's like they're just altering us so much. And I think that it's normalized, and it got the got milk commercials. People think it's actually good for your bones, but that shit is acidic. Like milk is acidic.
Drink milk for sure.
That's what's crazy. I like didn't really drink like a lot of milk growing up, and I like didn't have any injuries. like at all, really. That's kind of crazy.
That's
Well,
good.
now
Yeah,
like-
I didn't
yeah.
know that me
Yeah.
either.
Well, now there's studies that actually indicate that dairy is responsible for like loss of bone mass. So
Yeah,
like
what is it called? What is that term?
osteoporosis. or
Osteoporosis,
osteoporosis.
yeah. Directly correlated
Really?
to osteoporosis, yeah.
When I would eat cereal, I would like feel sick, I guess you could say, when I like drink the milk. But like if I use almond milk and ate cereal, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it just feels like way cleaner, you know? Like kind of just with all that stuff, all that synthetic.
Well, I mean, let's think about it. Would any of us drink milk from the cow?
With cows too.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So it's
Especially
kinda
when
If I was
I've
on
milked a
Jackass.
cow before, like that. It's like milking a cow. Like, nah. Once you do like that, you're like,
You've milked a cow?
in Oklahoma.
That shit feel weird?
It is weird. It's like you wear the gloves and you just be pulling.
Yeah, I mean, my
Is this shit
grandma,
coming out?
Man, to
she
be real, bro, like man, to be real, I see it like now looking at that, like I never grew up doing it, but I also feel like it's like kind of like rape.
Yeah.
Like it's like like it's literally rape. Like that's the dairy industry like is literally rape, like in murder, because you're taking away the calf's nutrients and milk, and you're taking away from the baby, and then the mom is getting put into multiple cycles of lactation. And over again to induce, and then they just get killed.
I think that the only thing that would like hinder me from becoming vegan is really the eggs. Like,
Why?
I just
you like period?
Bro, I love
You
eggs.
like period
bro.
eggs?
They're good, bro. I don't know.
No.
They're just
Some
like,
people,
it's
some
just-
people do
I
like
know.
eggs. Though.
eggs are just so like good and
I
like,
used to eat them. I can't say
and
nothing.
I feel like chickens. I feel like some chickens like they just lay. Those are like period eggs. Like they don't have chicks or
unfertilized.
They're
Yeah.
unfertilized.
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
like I feel like that's I don't know. That's
What
like the
about,
hard. That's the only thing that would like because I've always wanted to like try and do vegan for like a couple months.
Just egg.
You know,
What
also-
about like
yeah, I don't
chickens that are like, I guess you have on your land that like lay eggs?
I mean, you're asking the wrong person because I didn't like eggs, so that
Okay.
was really easy for me
Yeah.
to not care about.
Well, I would say this. This is the thing. Like, what are eggs? Like, this is another thing. Like, when it becomes like, what is nutritious? Like, eggs have a lot of cholesterol.
They do.
And eggs are not like some people would say they're nutritious, but in
I
reality,
think
like
it's if
Egg
you
whites are
eat the-
pretty. They're better.
better. But
Yeah.
it's like the idea of cholesterol and saturated fats that are in there, and it's not. I'm pretty sure I don't believe there's any fiber in there, and so like for me, if I don't have fiber in there, it's not a food. Like personally, every food for the human body, like food has fiber
Yeah,
in
well,
there.
Yeah,
genuinely.
and I think that's the issue with a lot of people that are constipated, is that they don't have enough fiber in their foods because most animal products are void of fiber.
None
so
of them
like
have fiber.
even if you are eating meat, you still have to consume vegetables. Like that's not like you can't negotiate that because your body does need a spectrum of foods. You can't just eat the same foods and not have a variety. It's actually good for your gut biome to eat like a variety of fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, and just having variety in your diet.
So, got two last questions on my end for you guys. I feel like with everything your like lives are kind of in line with. What are y'all's thoughts on meditation? I've tried to do it myself, but it's just hard for me to like really focus like that and turn my brain off for 30 minutes. But I know like the effects of even just like sitting in a room, no phone, no TV, just consumed to your thoughts. I think that makes you like real present of like what's going on in your life and in the world. So I try to do that like 30 minutes out of the day. But what is y'all's thoughts on like meditation? Do y'all do that at all?
So for me, meditation is helpful, but like you said, sometimes it's really hard to sit down and be like, you know, in just one spot and getting into the mindset. But what I learned is that meditation can be a lot of stuff. Dancing can be meditation. Going into nature can be meditation. So finding your form of meditation can help you actually, you know, have more time of being mindful and just present than trying to force it. Because for me, I don't always meditate in that way, but I find other things that bring me calmness, that, you know, they bring down my anxiety and that make me focus. So that would be for my
And
answer.
I agree. Like, I think it does have a purpose. Like, I think the purpose is to be present now, like to actually be present for life. So it's like, if we're doing it, it could do. I guess you could do it very passively like that, sitting there. You could also do it actively in life, like running, like meditating. Like you could eat and meditate, really thinking about your food and just enjoying it, being thankful.
Yeah.
You listen to music and meditate. You can have a mantra and meditate. You can affirm yourself. So I feel like.
Nature walk.
I don't know. I at first when I like 4 years ago, like I did do a lot of sitting meditations, and like sometimes I will do it, not the same amount, like not like 20, 15 minutes like I used to, but I noticed it depends on what your goal in meditation. Like you said, it shuts your brain off. Like I don't ever feel like thoughts ever stop.
Well,
like
yeah,
the thing is
yeah.
you don't resist them, and the thing is you don't
Yeah.
force them to leave. You just as the clouds as they
More of
come,
like
they
a less,
go.
like no distraction.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing to alter what you would think
And
in that
maybe,
moment.
and that's another thing too. It's like we're always looking for that state, like with no worry, no responsibility, no thought, right? Is it like, is that ever, or is it just this flow that we're just embracing everything that we
Yeah.
already have?
No.
and
I don't think you ever
about?
stop thinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
never.
That shit never happened to
Never,
me.
bro.
I
Ever.
don't-
Not for me. I can't, bro.
And that's why I feel like meditation can look different for everybody. Because sometimes for me, cooking is meditative. Like cutting my vegetables, making a meal. It's nourishing me, so that's meditative. And the reason I say that is because I've gone to different meditation retreats
Okay.
and had different perspectives from teachers, and they all kind of have that saying, find what is meditative to you. For them, it's like going on nature walks or no phone for so many hours.
Yeah.
For others, it's like, getting off social media. That's
That's
a
true.
form of meditation for them because
Yeah.
it takes a lot from them.
Listening to
So,
music. That's like
Cold
probably-
showers, runs.
Cold shower. Showering in the
workout.
dark is kind of, I like that sometimes.
That's a new one.
I'm like, how do you make it out of there, bro?
Nah,
Like,
you just
oh,
always
yeah.
know your body. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
actually, no. There's people that that use the shower as a meditation. So, for example, when the water is like running through you, it's like washing away,
cleansing.
cleansing you.
listen to that Juice
You
WRLD.
know. So honestly,
Bro, relax. Nah, it's like honestly when I was like those moments you need it, you just shower in the dark, bro. Just,
The only time I shower in the
I've
dark is like
never
when I
done
first
that.
wake up and I don't want to
it was just
quote unquote see light yet.
that was just nice.
you're like, I'm not ready.
Yeah, I'm not ready to see the light, so I just shower in the dark. And
Bro, I've never showered in the
never
dark. I feel
showered in
like
the
only
dark.
way.
so like when I say in the
Shit,
dark,
do it.
like
That
my
shit's kinda
door,
lit, bro.
like
Your
my
door's
bathroom
open.
door is open, so
Well,
like
that's
obviously there's
why.
like light still coming in, but it's not
Okay.
like pitch black dark.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking that. I'm like,
Nah, that's not like pitch black dark where my door's closed, lights are nah. Like my door's still open where like the sun's coming in and
well, see, that's different.
yeah.
So I never had that luxury, or not so much. I guess me and her, I could do that, but like I don't. Like I don't know why, but I just don't. But when my parents are like living younger, like we're roommates, like I never did that. And so
Oh, well, yeah,
I
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
you like being your door closed with the lights off, and like I'm like, how do you see or get out? Or,
you just like
But also at the
sitting
same time, it's like it's like kind of a muscle memory thing. It's like you don't look down when you walk stairs, right? And you don't look
Right.
up when you walk stairs because
That's
you just
true.
Well, I
know what
wouldn't
step
just, like-
is. So it's like when like how many times you go to the restrooms, many times you go and take a shower, like you just know where everything
Yeah,
is.
I wouldn't just like
You're
so
right.
it's
into the
easy to
bathroom
just.
with the and then like with the lights off the whole time. Like I would like start it. And,
But even if you did, like you still know like
Yeah,
the position
yeah.
of your sink. You can still know the position of like your toilet and like where everything is. Like I know that I keep my shampoos and everything up top, and I'm not gonna hit them
Yeah.
when they're down low.
I
So it's
feel
like
that.
you just it's like a something you just like you remember.
no,
Yeah.
muscle memory.
Yeah, must remember.
And then my last question, or what are y'all's thoughts on like psychedelics, like shrooms and like?
They need to be
Whatever else.
legalized.
I didn't even know like I don't. Why is it illegal? I didn't even know it was illegal.
Well, it's kind of like cannabis,
Okay.
A lot of it is not illegal for the right reasons. It's mostly like propaganda.
And just for revenue purposes, I feel like.
I feel
like
like
controlled revenue?
It's not.
pharmaceuticals for them to sell
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because psychedelics have known to help people with their PTSD.
Like microdosing. Like I know
Yeah.
a lot of people like microdose like shrooms and like it like calms them down and
Yeah, with alcoholism
like
even.
that too.
And that's
Addiction.
on places that are more open to the idea of using plant medicine because it's not taboo. I mean, grows naturally.
Yeah, literally just straight
It's
from
not,
the ground.
yeah, it's not like it's made up. And it's been used before. I'm for it.
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
after like educating myself, because I feel like a lot of the times we aren't open to these ideas because our family has a different idea of what drugs are and how
That's
they
true.
affect you.
Like people look at like shrooms, cannabis, all that stuff as like super bad, but then they're like
Yeah.
smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, and those are substantially worse.
Yeah, and it comes down to legality and all of that. You know, being legal doesn't mean alcohol it's any better for you.
Yeah.
So
And also like drugs is an isolated compound by definition. Like a plant or a mushroom, it's not like psilocybin was isolated from it. It comes in it naturally. Same thing with marijuana. Like THC comes in marijuana and cannabis, and so it's like this is a whole plant. Like
Yeah.
it's a different thing. And like what other plant turns on our endocannabinoid system?
I don't even know what that is.
The endocannabinoid system is like, it's almost like a part of our immune system, but it controls a lot of like automatic things in your body, like you breathing, your cycles, just temperature, just a lot of things that are going automatically within our body.
yeah,
And-
no, we have cannabinoid receptors,
Yes.
and then they bind with the cannabinoid receptors
With the
in
endocannabinoid, the endocannabinoids bind with our receptors.
So
in our brain.
it's actually like funny that we have an endocannabinoid system, yet cannabis is, looked
One
down
of the
upon.
only plants that turns it on, though.
The only one. So, I've had my fair share of psychedelics. I feel like personally I had a good experience. I feel like if you had bad experiences, which I had maybe one, is because I was young, wasn't knowledgeable on what I was doing, and I wasn't taking psychedelics to heal. It was more to have fun.
Yeah. You were
Now
like,
it's
sure.
more
Yeah.
from like a healing place and a party place.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is like there's not environment or culture or education about them, so people go in these strange situations and experience them in
Yeah.
situations like that are not introspective. They're not going within themselves to meet or connect with themselves. They're like in a party situation or in a rave or in just like with their homies away from their parents, so no one gets caught in like a scary situation, like not in like in a safe like therapeutic environment. And on top of that, like another thing I was gonna say is like interesting enough, like endocannabinoids or like our endocannabinoid system like it's sometimes turned on through exercise, but like in the feel goods and the thing about pain too, like pain relief and cancer and all these things. I know it's a big word, but that plant has so much research. Some people say there's only 100 endocannabinoids in cannabis. Some people say over 400. Like the first person that studied the THC particle was actually talking about in this book called The Mavericks of Medicine, how there's so many of them that were beneficial. And the endocannabinoids actually worked as a neuroprotective agent. And it literally protected the brain.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's just amazing because how these plants can protect our brain, how mushrooms can help people emotionally. Like there's a cleansing, and the thing is that nature provides a balance. That's what I see, and allows us to just remember to enjoy the moment. Like I don't think I would have learned a lot of these things have I not used plant medicines, because I became more open-minded, and I think it actually helped me unlearn and humble myself.
And I think it's good to challenge our laws. For example, just because they're saying we can't use them, or it's like, well, why? So we got to challenge on why we can't use this and they're prohibited for our use. Because it's not really a genuine answer. It's more like propaganda. Don't use it.
Yeah.
It makes people crazy, or it makes people do things where it's the
They
gateway
lie,
drug.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should watch if you haven't. What is it? The Grass is Greener? Grass is Greener?
What is that on?
It's a documentary on like cannabis and how it became illegal.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
in
a
the
lot of
United
political
States.
things, like because of the paper industries and all that, and also the oil. Like it can replace petroleum with the hemp seeds.
Yeah.
It can replace a lot of paper products. It could honestly be used to create shoes, clothing. But the thing is that it's diverse and it grows in abundance and it's cheap, but they didn't want it, and also these people have monopolies. By taking it into another level, like really the whole change on the holistic perspective was that many people in America actually used to use herbs. But there was John D. Rockefeller. He owned, oil, company, and Standard Oil was his company, and he started to realize that they can use petrochemicals or oil and to create synthetic vitamins that were imitating plants. So then but he had to create a reason for them to regulate. So they created the Flexner report through this guy Abraham Flexner. So John D. Rockefeller got with J.P. Morgan and Andrew Carnegie, all these monopoly guys, and they were like, we need to have regulation over the medical industry. Let's demonize them. So they demonized them, said they were dirty, all these herbs didn't work. So then they created General Board of Education. They created all this regulation. They started shutting down hospitals. More than half doctors were fired. They were getting jailed. And then they started pushing for all these synthetics, pharmaceuticals, more and more. And in reality, plant medicines were a part of just that because they got demonized. Instead of helping people.
It has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It shows that.
Millennium.
Yeah, but that's why you probably see it resurfacing because it's always been there. It shows that, like the pharmaceutical industry and bigger industries have more power, more money to change things. And that's why instead of you getting herbs as a prescription, you get aspirin or ibuprofen.
With some properties that come from the plant, but then they synthesize and they add other things instead of just using the plants they would have come from.
But that's kind of like a big reason why we realize that none of this is new information. It's been here. It's always been there somehow. It just gets lost or forgotten, and we're just kind of like bringing it back and really learning what our ancestors, our grandparents already knew. Because a lot of my family members or like my grandmother, she used herbs. She used herbal remedies. And also so it's been like there before.
Like saying it's been there, like rites and rituals, like when people get in a circle or like tribes, like they would burn herbs or like they would do things, or they would cleanse energy, right? Like they would use sage, or they would use cannabis, or they would use things as protection. And so
plants as medicine.
Plants, and they would do rituals using certain plants to ground. Like they would use maybe tobacco to ground, or like they were just doing it differently. And I feel like now, like even as kids, like they get introduced to these things in ways that doesn't allow them to do it that way. Or like do it with the person watching, like a shaman or like an adult or a therapist. It's like, people are trying to turn up or forget life. Like, oh, I'm gonna trip. I'm gonna take a tab and like fucking watch Rick and Morty like I did in high school. And it's like that's not gonna provide anything. You might get freaked out. You might get overstimulated. And
or have a bad trip that causes a lot of like mental problems because you can, even though they're really healing, you can use them in the wrong way. So that's why I encourage people to like educate themselves before even trying it, because it'll make your experience so much better. Because actually I feel like they do have a purpose, and when you know how to use it for the right reasons, there's benefits.
Cool. Well, that was a lot of information. That was fire, though. Great information. Do y'all have any? Excuse me. Do y'all have anything for us? Any questions for us or anything like that?
I did have say one thing, because I feel like, we don't ever want to act like we know everything. Yeah. It's just a matter of we had to change a lot to get to this point. Yeah. And that's why I encourage people to keep learning, not just take what is given to you, and actually learn stuff that interests you, that stimulates you, and things that aren't always talked about.
But I mean, touching on what you just said about not knowing anything, because none of us do, but when you talk to someone who's I guess ignorant to all the stuff realistically they at least have to, someone like you, both of y'all are putting in the work to research it, learn it, continue to evolve your brain around it. As in someone that's you tell them and they're like, oh, that's dumb, whatever. Well, don't even waste your time on them. But then it's also too just, I mean, that's someone who thinks they know everything.
Yeah, because I mean, I know stuff, but I don't know everything. Exactly. Same with you. You know stuff that I don't. But that's where the exchange comes from.
The give and take, the yin and yang we were talking about earlier.
And that's the thing, just having energy exchange with people, I think on another level, we're always having energy exchange with people. And I think one thing I noticed for myself, and I'm sure Jenny can attest to this too, is we want to give to people, and we also want to be open to receive, but we also know that other people they want to be open to receive. So like just in general in life, like same thing, whether it's creating service, like people, we want to give them quality, like we don't want to give them BS. And like there's a lot of things that we can do just for money, but we don't. Like personally, like we try our best not to use any plastic, like biodegradable peanuts. So like just things like that, just being conscious. Like I feel like being conscious is a liberty. Like it's a lifestyle. Like you don't really turn it on and off. It's like you're aware, and you notice that if you choose not to be aware, it'll have consequences on you, your family, you know, like generations, the planet we live on, or you know, the house you live on. It's like if it's like people don't realize, like a parent, like when a parent neglects their kid, they're like, maybe they're naive that it's not gonna affect them, but it has an effect. Like there's always a consequence to everything, and so it's like, why not live intentionally and choose to live the life that you want with the results that you would want, or at least try to make the choices in that direction.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you have anything you want to ask? No?
No, I'm good.
You all good? You all nothing for us?
Well, I'll say this. You know, I'll say what is the root, or what is the outcome that y'all want from this? Like, what is it that y'all want this podcast to be able to allow y'all to do with y'all's life?
I always started off with
No, I mean, it's a back and forth thing. You can go.
I mean, initially,
we usually have the same answer, but go ahead.
Yeah, initially we wanted to start a podcast, mainly a sports podcast, because I mean that was what we talked about between each other all the time. But then, as you know, there's a ton of sports shows already out. There's a ton of sports podcasts already out. And then he came in with the idea, let's have guests on, because we always wanted to have, you know, engaging conversations and talk to people. Smart. But once we had the guest on, we call that the Off-Topic series. It was different from what we originally did. And from there, we know to really get monetized and to make it a business and a company and things like that, we're going to have to evolve, become a media company, have different shows, different content, essentially like a bar stool in a sense.
I like how y'all had the
the
event.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that y'all have events like that, like that's cool. Like you got people show up.
Yeah, and it's like, it was like people saw it and they're like, oh, well, we didn't even know. And it was cool for him because like we dropped a video of us in California and the Pace Bin video, and like people didn't even know Albert could edit like that. I mean, shit, we knew he could edit, but like he like impressed us too, because like he had been editing the podcast for the last 2 years. Yeah. So like him, and then we were just would butt heads and stuff. So him being like, I don't want to edit podcasts, I want to do other stuff, and then like seeing like, oh fuck, like that's what you're capable of. Like what the hell have we been doing? So like that's why we want to take the content up a notch.
So say you. So this is what I want to ask you. Like, so say that it does go the way you planned, and both y'all planned. How are you going to leverage this audience, or what are you going to leverage this audience? Like, how are you going to leverage this audience for your lifestyle
by
and
leverage?
Like, your message?
Like, what do you mean? Like to get
your
them
message, so
to
like,
follow us or what?
Like, okay, so you have people coming on the show, right? You have audience tuning in. Like, what is it that you want your audience to accomplish or gain by your podcast? But on the other, that's one aspect. But on the other end, what is it that you want to be able to do once you have everyone tuning in, eyes on you? How do you want to influence people? Is it through teaching them? Is it just to acknowledge exposing them to people that can teach them? Or is it you also doing something on your own? Yeah. Or creating your own content, speaking to yourself?
I think it's kind of for us, I think it's kind of a mixture of everything. A lot of exposure for sure. Because that was like the whole idea of bringing the guest on. So like for y'all, like y'all are getting exposure for people who don't follow y'all that follow us. And then
just giving y'all a platform to talk.
And it's like a platform for people to talk, so y'all can say what y'all do. The past guests that we've had, they can say what they do, and then everybody has different interests or maybe people are like, damn, I've been interested in that. Let's go see what they do.
And I think that's good because you give people like, you know, different topics, different perspectives, and different kinds of people with different life experiences. And I feel like that's what really attracts people, because it's real people talking about real things rather than fake stuff, you know, that's made up. So I think it's a good idea that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, for me to like what I want to accomplish, I just want to give people like a home, like somewhere they can channel, get away. They've had a bad day or bad week or whatever. They know they're getting a podcast from us or other people we work with, other shows we're like got in the
dope.
works,
Yeah.
or just you know, if it's not a podcast, the other content we come out with, like just being like, dang, I can unwind for this 10 to 20 minutes, feel good about this, and then move about my day. Then too, you know, elevating, promoting people. Like if someone doesn't know where to turn to, we're not going to turn someone down, or local people like you guys or just anyone else. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, like I want to get on the Opinionated podcast when we get bigger, because then they'll be like, oh, I can get this exposure, and they're going to give me that platform no matter how big or small. And that's how we've always talked about it. If no matter how big or small you are, you have 50 followers, but you post every day and you're consistent, if you want to come on the show, you can come on. Because we know, like, we can see,
I
like,
respect
weeks
that.
of consistency. Like, we know, like, organic growth, especially
Yeah.
us firsthand, one of the hardest things to really do. So,
That shit's
Yeah.
stupid.
and then just for me, too, definitely once this gets to a place to where we could, you know, not have to do as much hands-on stuff, I'd really want to be more personally involved with just like these podcasts, like off topics, and then like provide shows or other content for other people just getting started out, to give them like somewhere to get started. And then if they like get, you know, an offer from like theoretically like ESPN, and we're doing like a sports show, we had like kids doing a sports show, or like Amazon or something like that, then like we gave them like the stepping stone to like jump from us to them to like the bigger company or whatever.
Even events, bro.
Yeah.
Even if you could even like
So-
host events. Like there's so many things you could branch off from that.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have a vision.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanted
oh,
to
yeah.
see. I was also gonna ask you, are we
Yeah.
ever gonna see opinionated hot boxing?
I mean, hey, we could one day whenever we're full time. I'd be down to do. No, for real, I would be down to do that, because I mean, and when it's legal in Texas, like,
Yeah, that'd be dope.
I mean, yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, you know.
I was
mean,
just curious.
I mean, it just, that's a whole nother discussion. But like, there's like Dope as Yola and like Pine Park, like these like weed YouTubers. A lot of their stuff gets demonetized and taken down.
Yeah.
Like Dope as Yola has made like 10 Instagrams.
Yeah.
Because like he just posts like cannabis content, and like Instagram like takes them down all the time. So it's like,
You still
Yeah,
have
that's
to
tough.
play around the guidelines.
yeah,
unfortunately,
exactly.
to grow. So
Yeah.
Yeah. and
it's like it could be
sponsors.
fun, but if you are trying to make money out of it,
If we had
you
a
know, it's
weed
good.
tube channel, then yeah.
if it was legal.
Cool. Well,
But
thank
yeah.
y'all again for coming on
Thank
to the
y'all,
podcast,
genuinely.
and thank you for those last couple questions. Those were because everyone always asks us the same thing, like what we want to do with it, but those were like more like,
in depth
and introspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
'Cause I feel like at the end of the day, like I feel like a lot of us are doing what we love,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like when we get to that opportunity, like we have the resources to do what we really want to do. Like there's another plan behind that. Like there's levels. Like there's levels to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was curious. Like when y'all
Yeah.
have people tuning in and it's really popping, and you have YouTube plays going, and people want to see you. Like that's what I was trying to see. Like where would y'all want to go? Like
You got to
what
continue
avenues?
to elevate.
Yeah.
You just can't do the
Yeah.
same stuff.
Exactly.
You got to continue to be open to anything. So.
And demand's gonna increase, so
Yeah.
supply has to.
All right, well, that does it for
Thank
a
ya.
great banger episode, Opinionated Off-Topic. Where can they find y'all out real quick on socials?
The Wavy Movement LLC on Instagram, thewaveymovement.com/shop. You can find us on Instagram, The Wavy Movement LLC, on Twitter, Wavy Movement LLC. So we're everywhere. So
Heck yeah, make sure y'all buy, shop, get some of their
Facts.
products, and we'll see you guys next episode. Peace.
peace.